India's space economy. How fast is it growing? Well, it's going to soar to the tune of $40 billion. That's the word coming in from Union Minister Jitendra Singh. He is confident with India's space launches, not just Indian satellites, but satellites belonging to different countries around the world. He's expecting India's space economy to soar up to $40 billion by 2040, currently at about $8 billion.
That's right, Shweta. So I think a 5x growth in the next about 17 years or something. Yeah, I think we are definitely poised for that, if not higher. In fact, some estimates also suggest that instead of 40 billion, it could very well be upwards of $80 billion, which of course makes it about 10 times over. But I think a 5x growth is something that we should be optimistic about for a number of reasons. Number one, of course, India's own space sector has been fairly buoyant last few years. We've seen the excitement emerging from Chandrayaan and the launch of Chandrayaan 3. And it was pretty much, the whole nation rejoicing of India being the first country in the world to have a rover land on the dark side of the moon. And the entire nation obviously is celebrating that. And then, of course, the kind of discoveries that were made initially before the rover went to sleep and, of course, did not get recharged, which could have really been the next level of accentuation for India's excitement. But I think the space story is in the right direction for a number of reasons. Number one, of course, the space sector has now been opened up to the private sector. And that means the multiplier effect by way of investments coming in by way of activities undertaken for space exploration by the private sector means that the ball is not only in the court of ISRO. The ball is not only in the court of the government of India and the Ministry of Science and Space Exploration, but rather everybody who wants to take part in space exploration now gets a chance to do that by virtue of the sector opening up to private investments and private players participating. Add to that, number two, I think you are also now seeing some sort of interest of European as well as American satellites using India as a launch pad. And India has been able to launch upwards of $500 million worth of international satellites from its own space stations. So there is this new interest being now seen in other countries also looking at India and India's ability, India's resources, India's expertise to augment and assist in launching of space satellites not belonging to India but other countries as well. So that, of course, is the third part. Now, I think the biggest conduit here for the government is going to be the Gaganyaan mission. And that is really going to...
That would be a game changer.
That would be a game changer because India is looking at sending a manned space mission outside of the Earth's orbit as early as 2025. In fact, I believe trial runs, test runs are already underway. So 2025, it was slated to be 2024 earlier, but 2025 is what now seems like a likely window for the whole year, during which India will perhaps launch Gaganyaan. And Gaganyaan is going to be, like I mentioned, a manned spaceship, and that is a feat that only thus far is limited to US and Russia. No other country has been able to send a manned space unit. So I think with the success of Gaganyaan, it makes India the third country, and it makes India a very, very serious player where you're risking lives of your pilots turned astronauts to go live in outer space and come back safely to Mother Earth. So I think if that transition is navigated successfully, then pretty much we are well beyond sky is the limit for India's space exploration. And it's pretty much the whole universe being the playground for India.
All right. It's been a great year, come to think of it, for space exploration and India's own strides, landing successfully in this, in the southern pole of the moon, the uncharted territories, paving way for large investments also coming in, Kartik. It's a matter of business as much as it's a function of how India is moving leaps and bounds into space. It's also a function of how and where the space economy will head out to. $40 billion. Numbers look achievable. 5 times is not much.
5 times in 17 years doesn't seem much for a sector that we have taken great strides in recently. And I think the roadmap with Gaganyaan is also very, very clear on where we want to get with our space exploration and the participation of the private sector. I think space-driven communication is something that we are seeing already with license being granted to OneWeb, which is by Bharti Airtel. And then we will see that sort of, go on to geospace aerospace, fiber, the license for satellite-based communication. So, you know, I mean, all these economic activities, which are in any case drivers of the economy, will also see a lot more action in space. So, telecommunication is one part of it, and who knows, perhaps, you know, it's a matter of time before one country takes a leap into it. And we've seen the likes of Jeff Bezos and the likes of Elon Musk and the likes of Richard Branson already talking big, and some sort of achievement there to show around space tourism as well. So, you know, if that sector was to open up, then I think you have enough and more tentacles spread out on multiple directions that you want to take with respect to space exploration.
And just to add to that, India's own navigation system.
Of course, I see Navik.
Navik, as they call it. So a lot of strides there, parallel strides that India is making as far as space is concerned. It's an ongoing story. It's a story of India's success, one that is still unfolding at the moment.